New Forge.
Part 3, and this time, it's personal. Right then, first order of business. I want to make some doors, or some shutters, for both the front and the back of this forge. So what I've done is I've cut down a fire brick in half and then chopped the end off so that it's the same dimension as the window here. I'm going to make a frame for it using some of this 2mm angle iron, and I'll have that going around each of the four corners. And then I'm going to weld on a piece of this 10mm bar as a handle. So I should be able to sort of pull this to and from, and it should open this up. In order to do that, I'm going to need to make like a little track. So I'm going to cut a groove going up to probably around here, with a sort of beveled edge. And then I'm going to have a little bolt coming out through the angle line, which will run along the bottom to keep this in line at the bottom. And I've also gone and bought some of these, which you might recognise from like a cupboard door. They're little sort of sprung ball bearings, but they allow it to roll. So again, that along with the bolt should create a rather elegant sort of sliding system. Having done that, I'm going to create the runner at the top, which I want to weld onto the actual main body of the forge. And for that I'm going to use just a normal gate bolt. I'm just going to cut it down into various sections, and then that should hopefully run along. So 10mm bolt, so 10mm bar should work fine. And then that will create a nice little sliding door. And I know for a fact it'll work, because I've already done the one at the front. Sorry for the psych out, but this is what we're aiming for. Nice and smooth functioning, nice and smooth action, and it's a pretty good fit. And that allows you to have the forge as open fully or as shut as you like. So, let's get to cracking the second one. There we go, got that to a much better fit now. So, need to chop down the angle iron to the right size now. Better do some measuring. There we are, there's the four sides of the angle iron cut out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick this up, but as you can see, I still need to still need to cut off or cut them at diagonals so that they'll all lock together. So that'll be the next part, and then we will get to attacking the top and the bottom sides. Superb. There we go, as you can see, all matching up nicely. So I'm going to weld 1, 2, 3 together. But then this one I need to keep off, and I need to work on to put the bolt and the ball bearings or the latches through. So I think I might do that now actually before I start welding. Okie dokie, what I've now done, I've worked out 35mm from either end and found my centre point, and I've just centre punched each of these midpoints. These two I'm going to need to drill out to 16mm in order to fit the ball bearing container, I don't know what you'd call it. And this one I only need to drill out to 2 or 3mm. I need to remeasure the screw for that bolt. And then all I'll do is I'll weld them from the other side, keep them in place. Right, I've got this middle hole drilled out to 6mm. So the 5mm bolt will fit through there, that's not a problem. These ones, unfortunately, the only drill bit I've got big enough to cut steel is 12. I do have a 16mm, which is what I need, but unfortunately that's a masonry bit, so I can use that on the fire brick, but not on the steel. And as you can see, unfortunately, that is not large enough. So the solution I've got, I have a countersink drill piece, and I just have to basically drill through, because the diameter of the countersink is 16mm. So it's a bit messy, it's not ideal, but it works. Just like that. There we go, that should now fit in there, no problem. Now I need to centre punch 4 more holes and drill through, and then we can secure these in place. And then it's just a case of welding them on. There we go. That's the runners in. Now I've just got to get this bolt through and welded, and we'll secure all of these in place with welds on the other side. Well, I feel like an idiot. Bloody welded the bolt in the wrong way around, didn't I? So now I've got to cut it off and get another one. Take two. Perfect. There we go, there's where we're up to at the moment. This piece, obviously, the last one to weld on, but before I do, I need to install the loopies that you got up here. So next I need to attack that gate bolt. There we go, I have harvested these two pieces from the old bolt. Now I just need to attach and weld and drill, not necessarily in that order. So we've got the piece of angle iron in the vise, and as you can see we've measured out the distance apart, and I've got a pole running through to make sure that they're definitely lined up. So next thing I need to do, centre punch and drill. Right, we have attached the bolt holders to the frame. Last bit is to actually connect this piece to the rest of it. I can't touch it because it's too hot at the moment. This is just loose, just to make sure they're definitely in line when I weld it on. So let's get to welding. Like so. Right, I'm going to have to leave it there for the day. I'm losing the light, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'll carry on with it tomorrow. Now, some of you watching this might have thought that when I was cutting the angles off the original pieces of angle iron, I was a little bit wasteful, because I ended up with these scrap bits of triangle, whereas I could have just cut them at, sort of alternating edges. However, there's a reason I did that, and that's because these make for perfect little support wedges in each corner to hold the brick in, and that's exactly what we're going to do now, is weld these in place. There we are, just like that. So as you can see, all welded in and ground back, and that will work beautifully to keep the firebrick in place. So just to give you the heads up, for the next part of this video, I'm going to be doing it as a bit of a voiceover. You might have been able to tell in that last clip. That's because my landlord's mother came out into the garden to do some gardening, and I thought it might be a bit weird if I'm just there talking to myself, giving a running commentary as to what I'm doing, so you'll have to bear with me. It is what it is. Let's do it. So here we go, I've measured up the line for the groove I need to cut, from the centre point of the door to its full open position, and then I've left about an inch at either end, which is where the runners are going to fit into nicely. Et voila, just like that. So as you can see, there's about an inch at either end where the cut doesn't go all the way through for the runners. The next step will be to bevel this so that the runners run through a little bit more smoothly. And for that, nice and simply, I'm going to be using the round burr on my die grinder. With that now done, give you a rough idea, you can see the door now sliding nicely, you can see that there's a much deeper bevel, and at the nearest end I've just put a little bevel for a stop as well. So having completed the door, we've now cut off this 10mm piece of round stock, and we're going to be shaping this into the runner. I'm going to do that with a little propane torch and then just using a soft hammer to put it into shape. There we go, second shutter done. Now the grease is applied, nice smooth action on that. and it's not going anywhere, it's solid as a rock. So, that is now, front and back, sorted. Whoops. Look at that. Beautiful.
New toy has arrived.
Let's open it up.
This is a heating torch / fire gun AB0065. Awesome.
Now, the reason I've gone and bought one of these fire guns is one of the main disadvantages of a gas forge over a charcoal one is what you can actually fit inside it. So for example, that horse structure I made, that wouldn't have been possible using a gas forge, because it physically wouldn't fit in the chamber where you heat up the metal. So I bought a blowtorch in order so that I can then heat up exactly where I need to, and I can hopefully fill in that middle ground. So I managed to purchase a brand new full bottle of propane, and I've also purchased a gas regulator. So we're going to hook this up and we're going to see how good it is, how well it works. Give it a test. Okay, let's give this a go. Right then, I've got this all hooked up and I've checked all of the connections with soapy water to make sure there's no leaks. Let's give this thing a try. So far so good. From what I'm told, you get it so it's just the tip of an orange flame, and then when you want to apply the force, squeeze the handle. It seems to work. Don't know how well that shows up, but there you are, hang on. Yeah, that works. So for the next test, I've hooked up the smaller of the nozzles, and I've just got a piece of that 10mm bar, and I just want to see how easily, how quickly I can heat it up to where I can forge it. So we'll give that a try. Well, it worked, but that took a while. So I'm going to try with the larger head again and see if it goes any quicker. Well, that was considerably faster. Oh my god, that's so much fun. Okie dokie, so I think that's enough fun for the time being. Now I've got to get on with my work. So this is the part I've been dreading. I need to get to painting this bleeding thing. I'm probably going to use two different types of paint. I'm probably going to be using the hammered or hammerite black paint I used on the horse structure and on the lettering, the gate lettering, for the frame. Because this shouldn't, in theory, heat up, not with the amount of insulation in there, and I'm hoping even the actual outside of this won't get too hot. But, yeah, I've got a plan for that. So, like I say, hammer black paint for this, and then up here I've bought some heat-resistant black paint, which apparently can tolerate temperatures of up to 1100 degrees Celsius. So I'm hoping that should be plenty. I'm just toying with the idea of whether I want to start painting it and then just leave like a circle in the top so for me to weld onto when the burner arrives. Yes, I'm still waiting on the burner. There's always a plane flying overhead somewhere. First things first though, I've got to get this thing off. And it was heavy before I welded the rest of this stuff on, so I can only imagine. Alright, let's give this a try. Oh, Jesus. Light as a feather. As you can see, despite the fact I only cleaned this out a couple of days ago, the rust has come back with a vengeance. So I'm going to give it another going over with the wire brush. I'm going to rust convert it, and then I'm going to apply the black paint on top, and that should give this bloody good protection. I hope. Right, I'm about halfway through the grinding. As you can see, that side's done. And there's an example of one still to go. It's taking a very long time, so I'm gonna save you the effort of having to watch through the magic of editing. Jesus, that took a while, but I've got as much of the rust off as I can. I've only missed a few spots like there inside the wheel arch, but overall this thing is pretty much sorted. So I'm going to paint the underside first, and then I can flip it over and do the top side. So, rust converter. There we go, there's the rust converter applied to the underside. It comes out this really cool sort of purpley black, almost like gunblued colour, as opposed to the lighter shade of grey on the outside still. But yep, I'll give that a few minutes to dry, and then I'll flip it over and do the inside. And there we go, there's the outside now done. Looking pretty good. So we'll give that a few more minutes to dry, and then we'll go over it with the Hammerite black paint. So there we go, rust converted, metal painted. That should now be waterproof, rust resistant, etc, etc, all singing, all dancing. I've also, in the background, put a coat of rust converter on the forge as well. I don't really know if there was much point in doing that. There wasn't really much rust in order to convert, but I figure it's going to give it a good base for the paint when I spray that on as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait for this to dry. I'm going to try and plonk that back on top, and then weld them together, and then I need to spray paint this. I'm not a big fan of spray painting, I'm not very good at it, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to go, but we will see! Jesus!
Holy cow. That is a heavy bugger.
Just going to add 4 little corner tacks, both sides, just to keep it in place, and then I can flip it over and weld it fully. Right, I managed to get both the sides welded on. However, unfortunately I've run out of welding electrodes. That's the last one, and I still need to do both ends. It took a few more passes than I was expecting. I had to do 3 or 4 on each side to get enough weld in there. So I'll have to go and buy another packet and then come back and finish the job. I'm glad I wasn't recording when this happened, because you would have heard a very loud, naughty word. But I did just dropped the forge on my toe. That doesn't look so good, but at least it's moving. Sod it. I'll sort it out after I've been to the shop. There we go, more electrodes. Get to welding again. I mean, come on. Credit where credit's due. My welding is definitely getting better. Still pretty bad, but getting better. Right, I figure while I've got it upside down, I might as well give the bottom the spray with the heat-resistant paint. So I'll give this a shake up, and we'll see how well this works. Well, the good news is this stuff does leave a nice finish, as you can see. The bad news is I've literally done the underside here and there, this side, this end, and about halfway across the other side, and it's run out. And I only bought one because I figured, surely it would last long enough. Nope. So I've got to order some more. There'll be another couple of days before they arrive. Yow! So here's the thing. I'm still waiting on the burner to arrive. I know that it's being shipped from Australia, and I know that the time frame I was given was going to be a few weeks. I've got no idea how far into that time frame we are, so I've got no real estimate as to when it's going to arrive. So for that I can only apologise. I was planning on doing this video in all one go, and now we're up to part 3, and we're still waiting on the burner. So it's probably going to be 4 parts. I promise I will try and get the burner in on the last part, or the next part I should say, next and last part. But to be honest with you, it's kind of been a good thing in a way. I've done a lot of things to this forge I wasn't planning on doing, like the shutters and things like that. That was all added in just because I've been procrastinating, waiting for these burners. So it's not all bad. Like like I said, I'm of two mindsets. Do I just wait and do I, add it into this video, or do I keep sort of adding on section after section? And to be honest, at least I'm giving you guys content, so I figure, more videos the better, even if it's not necessarily what you want. So for that I can only apologise, but there we are, it is what it is. I'm hoping that you still enjoy the content so far. If you do, if you could, do all that, like, comment, subscribe, yada yada yada, all that stuff, that'd be great. If you don't like the videos, then doors over there, see you later. That's not what I should be doing. I should be trying to persuade you. I just can't bring myself to do it. If you're antisocial like me, just go. Anyway, on that note, bye-bye.